to fall as I go within. Quiet peace offers something sacred. There's a sweetness that waits, holiest embrace, that reminds me I'm always home as I go within. Quiet peace offers something sacred. There's a sweetness that waits, holiest embrace, that reminds me I'm always home. It's here that I am always home.
Beautiful. Welcome. I'm Reverend Debbie McDonnell, and I think most of you know me. Grateful that you're here this evening. Thank you for coming out in all the holiday traffic and hustle bustle out there. I don't know if you got stuck in it, but I sure did. So this is a time to just, as the song says, just let it all slip away, melt away. Anything that happened today that you just can let go of and rest right here and right now. We like to take about the first 15 minutes or so of the service to just surrender, to go into a meditation. We'll go into the silence for a while. And I just invite you to just embrace it, to just let go of anything that might be on your mind or in your heart, and just allow yourself to be fully present to this moment. And so with that, I'd like to introduce the practitioner who will be kicking us off this evening, Practitioner Brian Atkins.
Good evening. I am Brian Atkins. I've been a practitioner here at Seaside for over 12 years now, and I will be doing a reading this evening. But before that, please join me in prayer. And I know that God is all there is. God is that all-loving, all-caring source of divinity and inspiration that permeates everything and everyone. God is in the beauty and the solitude of the mountaintop. God is in the roar and the thunder of the ocean waves. And I know that God is right here, right this very moment, expressing itself through each and every one of us here at Seaside. And I know that we are all one with God. We are one with the source of love and caring and compassion, the source of wisdom and knowledge. Closer to us than our breath, that is where God is. And I give thanks in advance in knowing that this service this evening at Seaside is divinely guided, that each of us receives exactly that which we are here for tonight. As the words flow forth from Reverend Debbie McDonnell's lips, each of us is touched. Each of us receives a shift, a new outlook, new inspiration. And we in turn take that out into the world and pass it on to others. And consciousness expands throughout the world. And so I simply turn this time over to the hands of God and know that it is perfect. And so it is. Now I invite those of you who have not lit a candle to come up and light a candle. And Aria will lead us into meditation and song.
Love came down that Christmas. instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it's in giving that we receive, and it's in pardon that we are pardoned, and it's in dying that we are born to eternal life. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it's in giving that we receive, and it's in pardon that we are pardoned, and it's in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
So our theme this evening is from the Joyous Abundance Journal and is Notice You, Observing You. And to give you a little bit of an insight into what that refers to is I'll tell you about the exercise that is written in the book. It says, spiritual contemplation. Sit and watch your thoughts form and dissipate through your mind without attachment. Then notice you, observing you, watch those thoughts. Now, prior to reading this today, I had never experienced this. I've done lots of meditation, but never have I taken the time to meditate and then think about observing myself in the process of meditation. However, I have had experience that I'll share with you very quickly here of feeling like I was actually observing myself. And this happened about 3 years ago. One of my passions is running. And I was with a running club, and I allowed a cute girl in my club to talk me into doing my first marathon. And at that point, the longest I had ever run was 18 miles in a marathon. For those of you who don't know, it is 26.2 miles. And I remember going through this race, and after about 18 miles, I was struggling. I was wiped out. I was feeling dehydrated. And then at about 20 miles, I was just dragging. And suddenly, at one point, everything went pretty much peaceful. And I was no longer suffering. And suddenly, I felt like I was perched up on my shoulder, just observing myself go through this process. And it only lasted for about 20 minutes, but boy, it was just amazingly peaceful when it occurred. Having said that, let's move on to our reading. The Oxford Dictionary defines self-observation as the objective observation of one's own attitudes, reactions, or thought processes. In the most basic sense, self-observation is the ability to view yourself as if you were observing yourself from behind a video camera. And also from James Flaherty, who wrote, Coaching, Evoking Excellence in Others. It describes self-observation as this. To self-observe means to not become attached to or to identify with any content of our experience, but to watch alertly, openly, passively. You need to be able to watch or be aware alertly and openly of your thoughts, emotions, and moods in order to see them for what they are. And finally, a statement by Derek Lauber, who wrote, Self-observation, change your thinking and overcome challenges. Where self-awareness helps you to create space in your thinking, self-observation is the act of observing what is going on in that space. Self-observation is one of the most important pieces to overcoming any challenges, because once we begin to see our processes, thoughts, and actions more objectively, we can determine if they are truly in accordance with our desired outcome. Now please welcome Debbie McDonnell to the lectern.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Good, that was a great example that Brian gave of his running experience, and we're going to talk a little bit about that a little more. But welcome again. We're on the last night that we're going to be using the Joyous Abundance Journal, so the topics have been coming the last couple months from the book. So this one was one that we had to take a look at and see. I think it was actually written by Dr. Petra and not Dr. Christian. You can kind of tell who wrote which one in the book as you go through it. Dr. Christian says the trick is his affirmations are really short, and Dr. Petra's are longer. So I think this is one that came from Dr. Petra, but Dr. Christian will be using the book all through 2016. So he'll be continuing to use the Joyous Abundance Journal all next year, and we're going to move on to something different for Wednesday nights. But there's a witness consciousness that's talked about, or this observer consciousness that's talked about in the reading, and I'm going to read a little bit of it to you in a bit. But this witness consciousness and this idea has been taught for thousands and thousands of years. It has its roots in the Upanishad, in the ancient Sanskrit writing. It's believed to be 5,000 to 7,000 years old. So this idea of witnessing, having the witness consciousness, is something that is very much emphasized in the Eastern philosophies, and really not so much in science of mind. We may call it different things. You know, in practitioner training, we talk about 3 different ways of meditating, and one is meditation like we know it, one is contemplation, and one is, I just went out of my mind. One is, it'll come to me. But it has to do with this witness consciousness. It has to observing yourself as the observer. So it's not a new idea at all. Eckhart Tolle says that the beginning of freedom is the realization that you are not the thinker. The moment you start watching the thinker, a higher level of consciousness is being activated. And that's what we're talking about, activating that higher level of consciousness. You then begin to realize that there is a vast realm of intelligence beyond thought. That thought is only a tiny aspect of that intelligence. You also realize that all the things that truly matter, beauty, love, creativity, joy, inner peace, arise from beyond the mind. You begin to awaken. And that's Eckhart Tolle again, and that's from The Power of Now, which he talks about the power of moving beyond what we consciously know. And we do that by sitting in this place of the witness, sitting in this place of the observer. You know, there is our mind, and we know that our mind is the same mind of God, the same mind of the universe, that there's only one mind. That's something that we talk about a lot in religious science. There's only one mind, and we individually are the individualized mind of the divine. So we are sort of that cup, if you will, of the mind of God, where the mind of God is the whole mind. So within our human mind, back of our human mind, there is much more than what happens in our brain, that happens in this activity. So when we sit quietly in meditation, when we sit in contemplation, when we sit in that place of just knowing, we open up those avenues to so much more. We open up those avenues to the one mind, to the mind of God, to all that is. And as we do that, we're able to see so much more. And we're able to see so differently. The witness consciousness, some of the characteristics of the witness consciousness are that, number one, it's a centering device, and that is the other thing that we talk about is contemplation, centering, and meditation. So it's a form of centering, that we sit in this place of observing ourselves. And it's taking that place of higher consciousness. It's stepping back and looking down and seeing or looking at, from whatever position we are, ourselves and observing ourselves. To be a witness of something implies that you're the one watching, that you have no attachment to it, which is another important component of this observation, is that we're not attached in any way to what we're observing. We're simply observing. The practice of witness consciousness is meant to enable us to clearly observe the origins of our emotions. Another big piece is, where are those emotions coming from? Where are they centered? It is so interesting to watch, I think, ourselves or myself, when something gets me frustrated or agitated. And I'm able to take this position of witness observer and witness consciousness and say, my, isn't that interesting that particular thing got me so riled? And I'm able to be detached from it. I'm able to not get caught up in the emotion of it, but to simply observe it and learn from it and trace it back to the origins of where that emotion came from. So it's a place of being detached from that sort of trigger that happens to us, or those emotions that happen to us in the moment. The philosophy of witness consciousness teaches us that our emotions are a passing phase and not our true nature. By developing this watchfulness and our ability to observe ourselves, even in difficult circumstances, we're able to gradually weaken the roots of negativity and transform our mind. Sounds a little like science of mind there now, doesn't it? It's a tool by which we can change our thinking. It's a tool by which we can uproot the negativity that we might be in a pattern of thinking and move into a new way of thinking. You know, it's that idea that the feelings just move through us. They don't have to, plant themselves and grow within us. That it's that movement. In the reading of the book, Dr. Petra talks about watching the clouds move through the sky and watching the storms move through the sky and knowing that, in fact, the sky is always there and that these clouds and these storms just move through. And that's the same with this idea of our feelings just moving through our body. We can observe them just moving through and knowing that they aren't who we are. You know that saying that feelings aren't facts? That used to upset me because my feelings were in fact facts. They were the truth and that's the way it was. But the reality is that they were just my feelings, and somebody else in that same situation might have a completely different feeling. It's been an interesting few days. As we prepare to do a talk, it sort of becomes what you're doing in your life. And so for the few days leading up to the talk, I've been observing myself. I've been practicing this witness consciousness, and I have observed some really strange things. When I'm able to just get from that place of higher consciousness and look, tonight just coming to service was one example of I wasn't prepared for the traffic. I wasn't prepared. Now, in reality, one should think the week before Christmas, there's a lot of people out on the roads and prepare for it. Well, I wasn't. I left at my normal time, and it took me double the time to get here. And I observed myself getting agitated, and I observed myself getting more frustrated, and then I would let it go. And then the next person that stopped in front of me, it would build again, and I would let it go. And I got to observe myself, and I had a few things like that happen. I've shared with you that my father's not doing well. He's recovering from brain surgery, and he's really not the dad that I remember. He's having a hard time with his memory. He's in a wheelchair. He's not able to do for himself. And there's a lot of family dynamics around that, a lot of opinions about what we should be doing and where he should be going and the care he should be getting. And what I noticed that's interesting about that situation, while some of my sisters and brothers are very emotional about it, I am able in that situation to stay in that place of observer. I'm able to just let it be and just know that the perfect outcome is coming, and I'm just able to not get emotionally hooked. And that's the true gift of it for me. Have you ever had that experience of being around somebody that you absolutely have a tough time with, and then one day you're with them, and they're no longer able to hook you? That you've done your own inner work, you've done your own process, you've been doing your own journey, and whatever it was that used to exist between you and them no longer exists? That is a wonderful feeling. It is a wonderful feeling to be able to say, oh, that's really interesting. That person no longer hooks me. I'm no longer triggered by that. And it's really all about us. It's not about the other person. They haven't done anything. We've done our own inner work to change that. But to get to that place where that happens is such a wonderful thing, to not have that trigger. And one of the tools by which we get there is using this process that I'm talking about in your meditations, in your daily life, in your journey. The thing about being in the state of witness consciousness or observation consciousness or observer consciousness is that there's no judgment. There's no agreeing or not agreeing. There's no right or wrong, good, bad. You just simply are. You just simply are, and you just simply are in that place of acceptance of all that is. In the Eastern philosophies, there's a lot of talk about non-attachment as well. And so as you practice this idea of being the observer, you're also moving into that place of acceptance of all that is, and not really attached to the outcome, to the people, to the thing. You're just simply observing. You're just simply watching. And you do get to that place that Brian talked about, that peace. And that is the result of the witness consciousness, that you get to that place of absolute peace. And you're just able to be. One of the things that I was looking at talks about that's the laughing Buddha. And I love that imagery, the laughing Buddha and the statues you see of the Buddha that's just doing that big full belly laugh. Well, that is the Buddha that's just been in witness consciousness. And I was able to practice that this week as well, just looking at me and laughing. How silly some of the things were that I thought were important or got involved in or did. And I'm realizing that I'm seeing with the eyes of God. I'm seeing with the eyes of Spirit when I'm in that place. And I imagine that what Spirit is thinking, that how we take these things so literally. And so we put such an emphasis on things that really have no real emphasis, have no real importance. And we return to, like Eckhart Tolle, what Eckhart Tolle said, to the things that are really important, like love and beauty and creativity, relationship, and all these other things, especially in this season, the list, the to-do list of what you have to get done before the whatever date it is of the thing that you're celebrating, and that we put such pressure on ourselves. Well, I know I do. And it's gotten better over the years. But it still rears its ugly head at times, that I got to get it done, I got to get it done. Ernest Holmes talks about the consciousness as being the thing that needs to shift in us. And this is the way Ernest says, it's a little bit longer than I would like to read to you, but I couldn't, it was all so good, I didn't know where to cut it out. So I'm going to read it a little bit. Ernest says, unless we are able to provide the consciousness, Spirit cannot make the gift. So our job is to supply the consciousness. What is that consciousness he's talking about? Few people have a great consciousness, and this explains why so few excel. The power behind all things of itself is without limit. in us that has to become what we think into it. Realizing then that while the power is limitless, it may become operative through our own thoughts. We see that what we need is not some greater power, but what we really need is a greater consciousness. And we throw this word around a lot, don't we? Consciousness. He doesn't have good consciousness. She has good consciousness. His consciousness isn't where it should be. Like we really know how somebody else's consciousness really is. But, the whole idea is how can we create a higher consciousness within ourselves? And we know that, we have this, we vibrate at different levels, and we know that, and that's our consciousness. That higher vibration is a higher consciousness. So that observer consciousness, that witness consciousness is a higher consciousness. And that's what Ernest is talking about here. A deeper realization of life, a grander concept of being. We must unify ourselves with the greater whole. To acquire the larger consciousness is no easy task. All that we have believed in which contradicts the perfect whole must be dropped from our thought. And we must come to realize that we are now living in a perfect universe, peopled with perfect spiritual beings, each of whom is complete within himself. We must see that we are one in the Great One, and then we will not separate or divide, but unite and add to. Until time we will find that we are living in an entirely different world than we have known. The best way to arrive at the highest consciousness is to have a great faith in the willingness and the ability of Spirit to do all for us by working through us. So the task is to create this consciousness, to open to the consciousness, to clear ourselves from anything that keeps us from that consciousness, that keeps us separate from or apart from the divine. To do that, to observe ourselves, to notice our thinking. What thoughts are we thinking? Are we thinking thoughts of lack and limitation? Are we thinking thoughts of abundance? Are we influenced by the outer world? Or are we knowing our own truth within? Because that's where it begins, within. Ernest goes on to talk about that people might laugh at you, people might ridicule you, people might think you a fool. But we know we must hold to the idea that God is sufficient into all of our needs, that there is a power and a presence in this universe that we can use. And that's the consciousness we want to stay in, live in, have our being in. And that's that principle of detachment, which sometimes doesn't have a really good rap. If you detach from something, then you're not concerned perhaps, or you're not interested, or you're, not a loving individual. Well, none of that is true. To be able to detach so we're not emotionally triggered. To be able to detach so we can be in this place of witness. So we're not adding to the drama, we're not adding to the chaos, we're not adding to any of that. We're simply being. It's that saying that we hear a lot, and it seems trite, but it's so true, that we're not human, we're doing so much of human doing, but we need to be human beings. To just be. To take that pressure off ourselves to do, to do everything. You want to practice a little bit of this witness consciousness? I have a little exercise that we can do before we close. Anybody that wants to join me, feel free to. Just allow yourself to breathe in your seat where you are. And allow yourself to get grounded. You might want to put your feet on the floor. And imagine that you are on a movie set. That you're on a movie set and you're observing and you're watching the scene that's taking place in front of you. And the director of this movie set, he's up on the crane, he's up on a high crane looking down at the set, and he's simply observing. There might be a robbery going on in the scene or something that we might consider negative, but the director has no judgment about that. He's just watching it. He's just watching it to see what the actors are doing and if they're fulfilling their roles and how is it going. He's not attached to any of the emotions of the thing. And The director knows that, in fact, the movie's not real, right? It's simply a movie. It's simply an actors doing their part. The director is much more interested in how well the actors are doing with the scene, what they're saying in the overall shooting of the movie, and the bigger picture of what's going on. It's that bigger picture. So to get in the witness state, observe, become aware of yourself as an actor in your own life. You're going through your TV show with your family and your acquaintances and your work and whatever it is that you do, and just see yourself in that show of your life. And now imagine that you're leaving the set and you're going to climb up into that director's chair. And now you're kind of have that bird's eye view. You're seeing with the eyes of God. You're seeing the overview. You're seeing all that there is. And you're just simply observing. And you might be observing yourself in an emotional state. But as the director, you're not in those emotions. You're just witnessing it. From that place, you can get a lot more information about what's going on. You can get a lot more information about the overall scene, if you will. So just allow yourself to climb back down out of that crane, out of the director's chair, and get back into the flow of your life. And join in. Yeah. So that's the idea that we're looking at, is the idea of witnessing your life with that detached state. Spend some time practicing at that this week. Spend some time practicing being in that witness state. Practice seeing with the eyes of God. It's a very, very different view. And you operate from that place of higher vibration. So give that gift to yourself this week. Give that gift to yourself as you move through this holiday season of watching and observing with the eyes of God. God bless you. So grateful that you came out here and shared this evening with us. And now we're going to have a little musical interlude by Haria.
This is a Sarah Bareilles song. I don't care if the house is packed or the strings of lights are broken. I don't care if the gifts are wrapped.
No, I'm not getting the feel right.
Hang on one second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. Technical difficulty. We'll get there for you. Perfect for this song because it's all about not being perfect. I don't care if the house is packed or the strings of lights are broken. I don't care if the gifts are wrapped or there's nothing left to open. Love is not a toy and no paper can conceal it. Love is simply joy that I'm home. I don't care if the carpet's stained, we've got food upon our table. I don't care if it's gonna rain, our little room is warm and stable. Love is who we are, and no season can contain it. for that. And I sing, love, lead us, love is Christmas. Why so scared that you'll mess it up when perfection keeps you haunted? All we need is your best, my love. That's all anyone ever wanted. Love is how we do. Let no judgment overrule it. Love, I look to you and I sing. Let love lead us, love is Christmas. 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 That was perfect.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
I was still watching.
Lead us. Did you make up our chant tonight?
No, isn't that a traditional?
Is it? It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Love is the birth, or Christmas is the birth of love.
Love came down at Christmas.
Yeah, that
love,
was
love
beautiful.
Divine. It's
Yeah,
like
it's beautiful.
an old folk
Okay.
something from somewhere. Is it
An Irish.
Probably.
Well, very good. Thank you. Well, we are what? How many days? 9 days from Christmas? We're getting there, aren't we? We are. But right now it's time for our offering. So I'm going to ask for our ushers to come forward. Thank you, Dennis and Karen. Thank you for being here, for always being here and being part of the Wednesday night Going Within service. So grateful that you're all here, truly. And so it is this time that we get to share our gifts. We get to do an offering, and allows you to give and allows us to be able to receive here at Seaside, and knowing that all that you give goes to support the works that we do here at Seaside. And we do amazing works. We have all sorts of things happening. And we're so grateful for you and for being part of this spiritual community. And so will you please just join me in our prosperity prayer. As I give thanks for the good now flowing into my life, I gladly share that good with others. The more I give, the more I receive. I experience a deeper consciousness of peace and security, for I know that I am in the embrace of a warm, loving presence, forever seeking an outlet through me. My cup runneth over. I exist in limitless possibilities. Thank you. So I have just a few announcements before we close our service this evening. One thing I want to be sure to point out to you is this is the last Wednesday night going within service of the year. So the next 2 Wednesdays, what's happening is next week is our candlelight ceremony. So if you're a candlelight service, so it's the Seaside's big holiday gathering, if you will. It starts at 7 o'clock, but I would get here early. The doors are open. The whole building is open. We have 500 plus people that show up for that. So you want to get here early and be part of it. It's a fun night. We light the candles for all the different traditions. We sing Christmas carols. Dr. Christian sings carols he used to sing back in his family room with his parents. And it's just a good old family Christmas. Santa comes for the kids. So we invite you all to come out and be part of that next Wednesday. The Wednesday after that, we will have no service. That Wednesday, Thursday evening that week, Dr. Tillotson will be doing her Burning Bowl ceremony. So that'll be New Year's Eve. So you can come and be part of the Burning Bowl ceremony, out with the old and in with the new. And then starting in January, we'll be back the first week of January. And what I'm going to be doing next year is we have 100 plus Centers for Spiritual Living next year that have joined in on one common theme. And Dr. Christian will be doing his Joyous Abundance book, but on Wednesday nights, I will be doing the theme that the rest of the centers are doing. It's our Global Heart Vision. They've taken our Global Heart Vision, a world that works for everyone, and what we believe, which is the old What We Believe from Ernest Holmes, and they've put it together and created a year-long program. And the goal of it is to take the What We Believe in our global vision and take it deeper into our lives. So each week there's wonderful topics. Each month is a new theme. And so I will be doing that in 2016, starting the very first week of January. So I invite you to join me and be part of that as we go deeper. The education catalog is coming out on Sunday. So next, I guess at Candlelight Service, if you don't come on Sundays, it'll be here and it'll be time to register for classes that start right away. They start right away in January. And we have one other thing that I want to mention to you. We have lots of opportunities for holiday giving. Karen Komplitz is here tonight, and she is our liaison between the Community Resource Center and Seaside. We have given over 2 tons of food we've donated to the Community Resource Center this year, and we're participating again in their holiday baskets. Blankets, jackets, food, and just cash donations. So Karen's in the family room. If you'd like to give, please see her after service and be part of that. Those will be wrapping up in the next few days. It's an opportunity where over 1,900 families in the North County area go down to the Del Mar Fairground and they get to shop. They get to shop for Christmas gifts for their families that don't normally have an opportunity to do that. So it's a wonderful thing to give to. I want to thank everybody that makes Wednesday night possible. January will be our year anniversary, which is unbelievable. Ari and Jim, thank you so much for being here every Wednesday. Dennis and Ginny, our Wednesday night coordinators, yes. Thank you to all our practitioners. Trudy and Brian are here. They'll be available for prayer after service right at the chapel outside the door. Please don't leave here with anything on your heart. Thank you to Gregory for doing our live streaming every Wednesday and putting it out there in the public. Thank you. Thank you, Steve and Ed, for sound. You guys are amazing. Thank you so very much. Bookstore will be open. Vicki is here. She is only going to be here till next Wednesday. She's retiring after 3 years of working in the bookstore Wednesday nights. So give her some love. If you have some last-minute holiday shopping in there, we have some great gifts. And we did just get a new case of Dr. Christian's book, which is very hard to get. We happen to know one of the authors, so we had it in. And so we have some in here. So now I would just like to pray. So please, if you have anybody in your life, in your family, in your community that you're wanting to hold in prayer, please bring them to mind now, knowing that they'll join in this vortex of prayer that we create right here and right now. I'm knowing that there is only one power and one presence, and it is God, and it is good, and joy and love. I know that there is no other presence but the divine, that spirit is all that there is, that good is all that there is, that love is all that there is. And I know that this season is the birth of love, the renewal of love, that idea of love that moves in through and as each individual. And I know that I am one with all that is. I know that I am one with this divine love and this divine joy. And just as I know this is true for me, I know it's true for each one here. I know that each one in this sanctuary is a magnificent expression of the divine, perfect, whole, and complete right now. I know there's nothing that's broken, nothing that needs to be fixed, nothing that needs to be healed, only to reveal that divine essence that is the essence of each individual here. And I know and I claim for anybody that's put a prayer in our prayer request chest, or anybody whose name has been rising to this consciousness right here and right now, that there is a healing going on. There is an expansion taking place. There is a light that's moving through each and every activity, each and every individual, knowing that there is a place of peace, a place of love, a place of expansion. I know that each one here is blessed with absolute abundance, that the divine flows through them in the most magnificent way, and each one is given all that they need in every moment of every day. I'm so grateful to be part of this spiritual community. I'm so grateful to be part of this good works, to be part of this love, to be part of this joyous message that is spreading out into the world. And it's with that sense of absolute gratitude that I just simply release these words into the divine nature of the law, knowing that it is already done, and so it is. Please join me in our closing song. Santa.
Love is my decision. It's up to me
To give up my heart.
Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start.
And
Once I decide to change my mind, love will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. Knowing to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, love will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. My decision right here and now.
God bless you. Have a beautiful week. Join us for cookies and tea in the family room, and happy holidays to you all. Blessings.
here we go. The mood is right. Spirits up. We're here tonight. And that's enough. Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. Simply
Having a wonderful Christmas time.
the party's on. The feeling's here. That only comes this time again. Simply
Having a wonderful Christmas time. Simply having a wonderful Christmas time.
the choir of children and Aria sing this song. Ding dong, ding dong. Sorry. They practiced all year long. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. The word is out about the town to lift a glass, don't look down. Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. Simply having a wonderful
forgot that I didn't know that.
Well, no, I didn't know that. I don't do that right. I don't do that part right. But you were correct. They practiced. But I think you're going to